Hi, guys. It's Michael here from The Pet's Journey. And tonight we're discussing a problem that many cat parents face: urinary crystals. Are they mostly diet related? Could stress cause them? How do we tackle these crystals using both Western medicine and Eastern holistic methods? Today I'm joined by my amazing co-host, Pam, and from Perfectly Holistic. And we have also some thoughts on this. So together we're going to be breaking down the top 6 procedures that raises the risk of crystals, common symptoms to watch for, and multiple treatment paths that you can choose from and see what's best for you to get you guys started. Pam's, what's that?
There's a really bad
There's a real bad echo. You know what? Okay, guys, let's see what we could do here. Echo. Let's see what we can do here.
It's like a really long delay and it's repeating everything you said.
How's that? Is that better? Is that better? No? We're going to do this. We're going to try one more thing. Give me 1 second here. Let me switch a few things out. Let's go here. Let's go here. Then got that. Okay. Let's go here. Let's go audio. Let's go here. Let's go. Okay. How's that? Is that better for you? Is that better for you?
Delay.
It's delayed now. Hi guys. Hi, Scooter. Hi, Amanda. We're just trying to figure out what's going on with our sound. Once again, we were trying to work with all these different things. So now it's delayed, right?
Can you hear it?
No, see, I don't hear what you hear on your side, so I don't understand why we're having such a pain with this. How's that? Is that better? Delayed wise versus delayed wise? Does that
Let me
work?
find out and I'll come back in and see if that helps.
Okay. Okay, let's see how Pam. I'm telling you, this audio and visual stuff, you guys, it's enough to make your day. Let's put it that way. Let's see how's that, Pam? Yeah, see, I don't even hear you now.
I still hear a really long delay.
And I'm down to basics. I've got everything on my side. I'm going to take echo off now. How's that? Did that do anything? Has that done anything?
Let me
Hello?
see. If I can get it from this side. Let me completely out. I'm going to leave this video.
Yeah, you did that once before and that seemed like it worked. Try that, okay? Pam's okay. So Pam is saying you're echoing. So you try go all the way out and come back in, okay? This stuff drives me nuts, you guys. I swear. It's like I wish we all could be here on the same channel together, playing together and doing our thing, and just that's how we used to do it in Clubhouse, where we'd have a whole room of people and people could raise their hand. This is a whole new technology that we're using right now. Not tech, it's actually an old technology that we're using, but it's still, we keep having these issues with this sound. And I mean, with the amount of money that we invest in the sound equipment and everything, you think it would be perfect, and it's just not very friendly sometimes for us. But while Pam's signing back in, we'll wait for Pam real quick. So you guys, we are. Can you barely hear me? Let me see. Let me do this. Yeah, we were trying to do it without the mic. Let me see how this works. Let me do this real quick for you. Let me go here, audio. Let's go here. Let's go here. Okay, how's that? Is that better for you, Scooter? Does that sound better? How's that? Is that better, you guys? Let me know how that sounds for you guys. It sounds like we're playing with. Okay, here's Pam. How's that for you, Pam? Are you better?
He's good. I had somehow your YouTube videos started because I had that page open on YouTube and it started on its own when we started the show. So I was having
So
two
you were
screens at
listening
the
to yourself
same time
bouncing back. Okay.
through through your YouTube platform. Yes. So sorry about that.
Okay, so that's okay. So it just shows you we never know what's going to cause it. So this was just a feedback because our computers do that. If we if we have it tagged, it'll turn it on without us realizing it. So Amanda, I'm going to check with you real quick. How am I doing? Can you hear me fine? Can you hear my voice fine, Amanda? Let's start with me, and then we'll do Pam. Maybe it's echoing for her, far, far away. I'm hoping that everybody. Did I lose you, Amanda? But you could hear me, right, Pam?
Mm-hmm.
A bit lower than before. Um, is that better? Um, okay, Pam, let's hear you. Why don't you say hello to the audience?
Hey
Tell us,
everyone.
tell us about your day.
Sorry about the technical difficulties. It's just y'all, you just have no idea what it's like to produce a show. Okay, so she says we sound great now. So I don't hear any feedback. I don't hear any delays. So yay, I think we are good to
Yay!
go.
So we're on our way again. Okay, so that's something that we always have to remember because I think I've done that too. Where the same thing where I have it on one of my computers is on, and so just listen. So we're good. Okay, great. Okay, guys, I'm going to go ahead and start off from the top again, just to introduce our live tonight. Once again, I'm Michael with the Healthy Paws Herbal Labs here with the Pet's Journey tonight, and we're discussing a problem that many cat parents face. Urinary crystals. Are they mostly diet related? Could they be stress caused? How do we tackle these crystals using both Western and Eastern medicine? So we're even saying sometimes Eastern medicine doesn't get it, so sometimes we do have to rely on Western medicine, but we're hoping that we don't have to. But we're going to dive into that here in a little bit. I'm joined once again by my amazing co-host Pam from Perfectly Holistic. And together we're going to be breaking down. I've got 6, precursors of things to take a look at that, if we get to them, how we always go, people have questions. We like to answer your questions. We like to hear how your cat or your pet's doing. So with all that, let's get started. So I'm going to go to you, Pam, to start with this. So crystals, tell us, what are crystals? I mean, you work in such a healing space. I picture you with crystals all around you, but we're talking about a different type of crystals today.
Yes, and I'm so sorry. My cat's in here, and she brought in a gecko, and she's playing with a gecko underneath my desk. Oh my gosh,
Which one?
breathe,
Breathe?
breathe. Don't hurt the gecko. Can I rescue the gecko?
Yeah, rescue the gecko. Rescue the gecko. Oh my God.
I'll be
Yeah,
right.
we'll go ahead. So what the top 6 why she rescues a gecko. See, we're always rescuing pets. Look at the little gecko. Oh. Um, so the first question I had for her is we are definitely going to talk about what are crystals and what causes them. And then and we'll talk about the main symptoms to them and if there anything that we can see ahead of time. Is there something that our cat's doing that we can watch our cat and all of a sudden notice that something's going on with them? Maybe there's a sign to it. We're going to dive into that. And then my other thing, see, I have to have notes, you guys. Definitely notes have is so so important for us to have here, especially when we get into these subjects. Because like the subject we had last week, I have to tell you guys, I'm still flabbergasted by the whole science diet, prescription food thing. That's going to haunt me for a while.
Mhm.
Is Is she going like, where is it? Where's my gecko, Mom? Where's my gecko? Right?
This is Aylin,
Oh,
and
that's Aylin?
Breeze,
Okay.
Breeze is still underneath the desk looking for the gecko that I rescued.
Oh, she is? Oh
She
my
just
God, that
wants
is
to know where to go.
so cute. I love that. So yay, everybody, we did something really positive today. We saved a gecko. So let's talk about crystals.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, like you're always, you know, when I picture crystals, I picture the crystals that you hang out with that are around our house. Um, Talk about these crystals. What causes these crystals? You see it more than I do in the cat world because I'm usually more in the dog world. And cats seem to get crystals more often than dogs, I believe. Do dogs even get crystals?
Oh no, I don't have a dog.
Yeah, see, I don't think I've ever I've heard that or been asked that question. So what are crystals? What starts it? What
Well,
causes it?
typically when there's a change in the pH of the bladder, then like you have these mineral formations that they can be tiny, like little tiny crystals, but they can develop into big chunks like stones. So it can be from too much mineral. I believe, and I'm not an expert in this, but mineralization. It can also be from just changes in the pH of the urine that develop that potential. So if the urine is perfectly the right pH for cat, and I want to say it's like 6.8, don't quote me, but it might somewhere around there. If it gets too high, they can develop crystals, and if it gets too low, they can develop stones. I think it's stones.
Oh, so
Um,
one kind of offsets the other. So that's why it's so important that we talk about our systems being in balance all the time. So if your system's not in balance one way, you're on your way to potentially crystals. If you're on the other direction, on your way to potentially stones. So it is so crucial to
yeah,
have that imbalance. Wow. Okay. So basically like if okay, well that's interesting. See, I always learn, and you guys just like Pam said, we're not experts in everything that we talk about here. Think of us as conduits of bringing information to
yeah,
you, allowing you to open up a conversation, and maybe one of our conversations is going to trigger something that's been going on with your pet. And one of the things we always want you to do is do your homework because
mhm,
what we may be talking about, excuse me, what we may be talking about is not necessarily, we may be talking about crystals, but it may not be what's really going on with your cat, but it may sound like a lot of the issues we're talking about seem like it is what's going on with your cat. So always do your homework.
yeah,
Remember, your mommy, your daddy, you've got to take care of your baby. So take care of your baby the best way. What our goal here is to be able to bring information so that maybe we do come up with some conversation that all of a sudden you realize you're like, God, maybe that's what's going on with my cat. So I just wanted to share that with you guys because like last week we were talking about the science diets, the prescription foods and all that. And, right there, so obvious. I'm not a professional. I always thought there was prescriptions added to these foods and there was no prescription whatsoever. So that just shows you that we're all learning here. So you guys are learning on our channel with us. That's why I call it the Pet's Journey, because this is just a journey we're going through. We're about a wellness journey. So getting back, so what Pam just kind of touched base is like, so cats have a tendency to get stones. And now I know dogs do get stones. I know that. And then they also get crystals. And those are really two common things cats get a lot. And we just found out from Pam that those two, there has to be that fine line where they're in just that balance of health so that they don't get one or the other.
mhm.
So with that, what let's continue on. I'm going to let you continue on. You know me, I get on the stage and you just need to like wave at me once in a while and say, Michael, zip it, okay?
You're good. It's just we're not vets, so we don't treat animals every day, and we don't see this condition every day. But we are here to just share information. Um, do you want to talk about what causes crystals?
So let's talk about what causes crystals. What is the main, because like okay, so I always do my 6 questions I started just, you'll love this. I started at 10 questions and we never got near 10 questions. And I'm
right?
like, okay, how many questions are we getting through almost? We almost get near six. So I do it at six. And so right now, the first one is what exactly is the urinary crystals and why do cats develop them? Um, so what are they? Why do they develop them?
Well, according to just general online research, there can be a lot of the different factors that can include diet. It can be not enough moisture. It can be an underlying health condition of some kind. So it really, this is where having that holistic approach, where you look at the big picture, you have to step back and look at the entire situation. You have to look at what your cat's eating, how is their emotional health, how is their environment, um, do they have underlying health conditions that can contribute to this kind of issue? Um, what kind of diet are they eating? You know, do they have a are they predisposed to some issues because they were neutered too young, like in males? So there could be a lot of different reasons why. So you have to like put your detective hat on and go to a trusted site online and look at all of the potential reasons why a cat may develop this and just start ruling things in and rule things out. It's like, no, that's not an issue. That's not an issue. Or yes, you find something like, well, that might be it. I do have some clients that have a little bit more predisposition to developing the condition because of underlying health issues. In particular, I'm thinking about one who was way over vaccinated and he was neutered way too young. So, you've got that going. And then that can just contribute to underlying health problems that, cats struggle with,
Every
just the
day, right?
population, and yeah, the minerals in the food can, maybe there's too much of something. Like in some cats, they can't have, I can't remember what mineral it is. Stuff that has too much calcium, maybe, because it's the calcium that creates the stones. So they may have to be really careful about how much organ meat they have in their food. Um, so it can be kind of complicated, to be quite honest with you.
Well, and I'm going to start doing this while we're online is that, when we have a question, I'm going to ask the question as well so that we get more information. So we're gearing towards it. And one of the things I sat there and I said, what is the main cause for crystals? That was my, question.
Mhm.
And lo and behold, what do you think the number one cause to crystals is?
I would say dry food diet, if I had to guess.
It is especially dry kibble.
Mhm.
And what they're saying is it's because that diet has no moisture in it.
Mhm.
And the our cats need moisture in their food. And then some people think, well, I'll just add a little warm water and make it like gravy for the that's not going to do it. They really
Wow.
need true moisture from their foods. And like you said, it was like, what could be calcium is one of those ingredients that can raise it up. The other ones that are there as well is magnesium.
Magnesium. Yeah, that makes sense.
Magnesium and then phosphorus.
Phosphorus?
Yep. So
Yep.
high level of those three things in their diet can actually lend them to that, situation where they're likely to get crystals. But the number one thing, you guys, and and here we go again. We talk about this all the time. And it's funny because it's like we don't necessarily come on here to talk about it all the time, but it's just really showing you a pattern of like what's really going on with our food out there for our pets. And the
Mhm.
number one corporate that we keep seeing that keeps popping up is dry kibble.
Yeah. Well, and here's the other thing that people don't understand about dry food is that it's so high in starches, and that itself is very alkaline.
Yep.
So if your cat is eating a lot of carbohydrates, it's metabolized as sugar in the digestive process, and that raises the pH of the urine right there. So by the time the urine is sitting in the bladder and its pH is way too high, we're talking, above 6.8 into the 7, 7.0, 7.4, whatever, you have a tendency to start forming those kinds of crystals. Same thing if it goes below 6.8, I think it was, if it gets down, 6.4, something like that, you can start developing oxalate stones, I believe it is. So again, it's got to have that perfect balance of the mineralization, and how those minerals are processed through the diet. And if there's too much of something, or if the body can't manage that balance, then you're going to have some problems.
Well, and that's what it just, reading on here, it just says, it is that balance. And it's just really, and I just keep thinking about myself eating, Serge and I, how we've been changing our diet and eating cleaner and all that. And then just, I mean, and I'll just show you, this is what Serge made for us tonight was just, just vegetables, yellow pepper, and grilled chicken.
Hmm.
Simple, clean, straightforward, not a lot of junk added to it, not a lot of flavoring added to it. And it's so healthy, and it's that balance, and it's really learning to balance your food and all that. Because the other thing it's saying here too, we're talking about crystals here, is that it's saying that the stress in their environment, the
Hmm.
stress, and it's talking about, and the way stress affects a cat. And it's exactly what you were talking about. The pH balance is if a cat is too stressed or, depressed, those two right there, that if that pH balance is off, that's also leading them down that road of having crystals. And crystals cannot be a happy feeling for cats.
No, no, because they can actually block the flow of urine. And if your cat gets blocked, that is a life-threatening condition, because the bladder could rupture and your cat will die. I mean, that's not a situation you want to mess around with.
Well, I just see Morgan's message right here, real quick. I'm just going to pop to it real quick. She goes, she's so cute. She goes, I'm taking notes. My boy is prone to crystals, and my female rescue is UTI. So that's interesting. So yeah, so the boy cats are getting as well as female cats.
Hmm.
So, and
Hmm.
here one's got one and the other's got the other. So there's a balancing act right there.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Exactly.
so it's really, I mean, one of the biggest thing, and we do harp on this because and you guys are becoming our family, that all you people that are here that come back every week and you listen to us and you mod for us and you're just here having this conversation, you ask us questions, you're our family. We need you. So please be sure to hit the like button for Pam and for myself, and pass our websites on to people and tell them about our Tuesday night classes so that people can come in and join, because the more information that people are asking us, the more information we're going to look up, and the more we're going to find out, and the more happier all our pets are going to be. So, going back to harping on something is like, we talk about this is kibble, 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 kibble. You guys, if you guys haven't got the message yet, that kibble is not good.
We're going to
We're
keep saying it.
we're going to keep saying it. And, I know some people, it's hard for you guys to switch off of it. I understand it. We're not giving you a hard time about it. But this is where we're talking about. This is a prime example of, like, if you think that you're saving so much money with kibble by feeding them kibble, and all of a sudden here you've got, here we just read her message about her boy's prone to crystals and her female is prone to UTIs. Well, is that two different visits to the vet to see what's going on and how to take care of that? How much did that cost? And now bring that into your food cost. Wouldn't that been better to spend that money into doing a natural food for them and changing their diet so you don't have these extra vet bills every 5 minutes because something's going on and you want to, and like Pam said, is like, if they're blocked and they cannot relieve themselves, it's deadly,
Hmm.
so sometimes, and we always say this, it takes
That's
a team.
and that's thousands of dollars,
Yeah.
buddy. Thousands of dollars. So think about all the fresh food you could buy with that.
Yeah. Well, and it's thousands of dollars. And then sometimes if you wait too long, it's thousands of dollars. And then at the end, they can't do much. And so then they end up suggesting you to euthanize your pet, to
Hmm.
take them out of the situation and out of the pain and all that. And then you have all that. So it's just like, it's so we're excited to be here because you're in the right place. Cause that's what we're talking about is like, how can we offer information and give you guys information, and together, all of us make a difference for all of us, because when you guys ask us questions, it's just as important as us sharing information that we've done some research, because we do. I mean, before we start a show, I do a lot of research on what we're talking about so that we can go on and just like have more conversations. And then someone says, oh yeah, I heard about that or whatever. The other thing it says is, which doesn't surprise me, that causes crystals, is obesity.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah.
a a cat that's not very active.
Yeah.
Overweight or lower exercise cats may have slower metabolisms, and that will decrease the water intake. Water is a key element here. It's the cats needs. It's interesting because, like, I was talking to one lady, and I forget, I don't know if it was on one of our shows that we were talking to them, where they said that they don't hardly ever see their cat drink water because they're getting so much moisture from their food. And
Yeah.
that's ideal. I
Yeah.
mean, because like if you think about the cats outside, that are feral, that are living off the street, chasing geckos, right?
Yeah.
And or whatever they're eating, they're getting their moisture from all those different little critters that they're eating every day. So they don't really need that moisture, and that's keeping them healthy and their system balanced. So yeah, so moisture is a big one. Um, because like one of the things, like with our pee issues, okay, which is great for when they get stones,
Hmm.
because their bladders are, cats' bladders are so small, and their walls are so thin, that like with us as humans, if we get kidney stones, we could actually go in and we could have them blast them out. And they actually use like a little sonic little laser thing, and they blast out, and it breaks up the crystal, and it makes it, or the stone, and it makes it easier for us to pass it. But unfortunately with our pets, because they're so thin, they can't use any devices like that, because it'll just blow that organ completely apart. And that's end of life situation there.
Yeah.
So that's why it's so important that we stay ahead of these things. And it's funny because like I sit there, I'm like, God, we're talking about this problem, that problem, this problem. Well, we are. That's what our life is about, is talking about problems and how we can get through them and how we can help, deter them for our pets. So, I'm like, God, do we ever talk about happy times? Yeah, we talk about happy times all the time. We always have really fun times here, but this is all education. So, your cats, do you find that your cats get it often, crystals or UTIs or?
They tend to get, well, no, let me be specific. Gunner tends to get more of these cystitis type of issues, sometimes the a UTI, but it's usually stress related. It's not diet related, it's stress. It's
It's stress.
emotional stress because he is my very sensitive earth element cat who gets upset when everybody doesn't follow the rules, and when he gets bothered, when he is when the two youngest ones are bouncing off the walls chasing each other, and he's in the middle of it thinking he's going to get hurt because they go crazy sometimes. He gets very scared, and that fear response creates the inflammation in the bladder,
Right.
and so he gets more of the cystitis type issues. So for him, it's more emotional stuff.
So it's more emotional for him.
Yeah,
And how old is he again? He's older, isn't
he's the
he?
16-year-old.
Yeah, so he's the old he, he's
Old guy.
he's daddy in the group, right?
Yeah.
He, and he's the one, isn't he the one that sits on the back porch where your other cat that had transitioned will kind of like used to hang out? Is he the one that hangs out outside?
He likes to go outside and he'll sleep in a sunny spot for about 30, 45 minutes and then he wants to come in. Unless it's a really nice day and then he sits on the one of the chairs and he sleeps for several hours. But he just wants peace and quiet and calm. And if he doesn't have that, and he also gets very mad if the dogs around us are barking a lot or if the kids go like our neighbors have children, like 4 children. And the ones next door have two. So if there's a lot of kids and activity and screaming because there's a trampoline behind us, you know, he gets very, very upset. If his peace and quiet is disturbed, he is so mad. And I laugh because he's
I love that.
I can see him sitting out sleeping, sleeping, and I'm like, oh no, because I hear all the screaming, and I'm like, oh no. So sometimes I'll just go rescue him and I'll bring him in, even if he's not asking, because I can just see it. He is brooding. He is angry. He's mad because they're making so much noise and disturbing his nice nap. You know.
Well, and I love the fact that it's so cute because if you think this is how society is, right? This is how cute and beautiful it is. It's like here you're like, yeah, our neighbor, they've got like 4 or 5 kids and all
Yeah.
that. They're probably over there going, our neighbor, she's got like 4 or 5 cats and one's doing this one time and one's doing this one time. It's like, the battle of the babies, whose babies are being taken care of the best, right?
Oh, it's so funny. I don't have kids. I have cats, so they're my kids. But it's funny because all sentient beings have emotions and they express themselves different ways, and they don't always agree. So cats are very different than dogs. They like their peace and quiet. They are very sensitive to energy. And I really think a lot of the barking hurts their ears because of that pitch, and the
Mm.
screaming of the kids. If you think about it, cats have super amazing powers of hearing. And they have a lot, like I don't know how many receptors in their ears. They can hear sounds that we can't hear. So when they get those high pitched screams and loud, loud, loud barking, it probably hurts their ears to some degree, I would think. I'm guessing on that, but just because they're so sensitive to it, and he almost acts like it makes him uncomfortable, if that makes sense. And
Right,
that's
right.
probably why he gets so angry, because these are the emotional blocks that I end up having to clear for him, is things like anger and resentment, and he's pissed.
He's pissed.
He's
He,
pissed.
oh, that is fun. He's like, kids, you need to behave, right?
Yeah, just shut up and be quiet. I'm trying to sleep out here.
I'm 15 years old. Do you know what the stress you're putting me through?
Yes,
Oh my,
they do have satellite dishes on their heads, and their ears are
I,
constantly, they're twitching and they're turning different directions because they hear everything.
um, so I was just looking at, okay, so what are they saying are the Western treatments for, or the Eastern treatments for crystals, right?
Hmm.
And basically they're both, I mean, yeah, the roots, the herbs are really good because it once again helps them balance their stomach, gets everything in balance, and that's what the Eastern medicine does. But for Western, what they're talking about is like give them more water.
Hmm.
Just give them more water. I mean, and that's where they're stopping basically. Hydration is just for, Western medicine. And that's actually organic. That's actually
Well,
natural.
that's a very good place to start, especially if a cat is eating dry food. So switching them to a moisture-rich diet goes a long way, absolutely. Um, and it doesn't have to be just water. If they're eating wet food, you can add things like bone broth or goat's milk, things that are very appealing and taste really good. Doesn't have to be just water, but just think hydration.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's even saying here for like Western, for Eastern medicine is like calming, do something that's going to calm them. So that's like, and it's interesting because this is like where, once again, I'm like going, wow, that's where our no more drama would actually be great for a cat that's under a
Mhm.
lot of stress. And if he's in
Yeah.
that type of stressful situation, often, he may needs to start his day with a little no more drama, you know? It's not gonna, it's only gonna help them. That's the magic with the herbs. That's the thing that we're learning is ourselves, is the fact that the herbs is like, the longer we're on them ourselves,
Mhm.
it's
Yeah,
like,
and it helps to balance the nervous system. And if the nervous system is in balance, then you don't have as much of these major fluctuations of issues, right? So the body doesn't go out of balance as easily if the nervous system is balanced. So,
yeah, because if you're in remember, I always say body, you spiritual, and those need to be in alignment.
mhm,
And when we're in alignment, our life is easy.
mhm. Yep.
It's like I bought, we were talking about, like, it's been one of those days for me, right? So I'm like a Mr. Fix It kind of guy. I always like throwing in little fun little stories of my life, because people, get a kick out of, what I've done and things I've done in my life. Remember the TV show MacGyver,
I loved MacGyver. I
right?
loved that show. Yes.
And so that was back in the 80s, right?
Mhm.
And so whenever, a lot of the time, not every time, but a lot of the times where you saw him go in and tie a bomb or rewire something, or you saw his hands doing this or redoing this, those were my hands.
Yeah, so cool.
Yeah, and so it's like I was a hand model for MacGyver. And so, but it really fits me because I love the futz with things. I love doing things myself. And there was like a piece of about someone during one of our rainy storms backed up and hit one of our bumpers right to our car and scratched it. And so I called up our insurance, and it was going to raise our insurance. And it was like this big process. And I'm like, Jesus, I'm just going to order the piece and just do it myself.
Mhm.
And people are like, "What? You work on cars?" And I have this actually here. This here is my other car that I have, and
Ah,
it's a '63 Nova Chevy.
cool.
And I restored it, and I actually took it apart myself and put it back together. So I'm really good with cars. So I ended up getting this piece, and I put it on. And you had the option to either get it painted, or you could have it painted afterwards. Well, I'm like, well, just paint it before. Well, the paint's off. That was my
Mhm.
day. It's like a shade off in my eye. I cannot not have it right. So now I have to go get the piece painted. But it was stressful. I was like, okay, I need no more drama right now. Oh my God. How can they, because you have to give them the right code, and I gave them the right code. So that was my little thing. But anyway, so that was my MacGyver moment today, as I was fixing our car under a very distressed moment of finding out that they didn't send me the wrong color. It's just like the batch was the wrong color. I don't know. But
Interesting. Do you think
yeah,
it's just from how long has the car been painted? Because over time, the just sun exposure kind of makes colors fade or change a little bit. So is that possibly why?
well, I would say there might be a possibility if the color was uh darker,
Oh,
but the
okay.
color's actually lighter
Oh, okay.
than the rest of the car. So it's not because of fading. It's
Yeah.
more of
Okay.
just like, it's like when designing, whenever you're designing something, like when I'm designing someone's house, or, we're dealing with fabric, first thing you always have to do is, when you find a fabric you like, you have to make sure they have enough of the same batch
Yeah.
number and dye
Yeah.
lot.
Gotcha.
Because if you don't do that, then you're likely to have two different dye lots, and the slightest little difference will be the slightest difference.
Mhm.
And on a big piece of furniture, you'll see it. So it's
Yep.
just a matter of, like, one, where did they get the paint? Who made the paint? What's the quality of the paint? So there's all those stupid elements that are involved. So anyway, so that was one of my little stories. I thought I would share that with you guys about MacGyver, and that was fun. It was like, it's always, I was lucky because living here, my mom worked on the show Love Boat. So I was always on Love Boat, and got to meet so many people on Love Boat, and got to hang out with all the celebrities. And that's why I don't think I'm so celebrity struck when I see people. I'm just like, oh, hi, hi, hi. But
Mhm.
yeah, no, I've had a really fun experience in my life so far. I still have, It's funny because I met, you know who David Foster is?
Is he the musician?
Yeah, he's the producer. And
Okay.
so, like, Whitney Houston was one of his clients. Andre Bocelli was one of his clients. I actually was lucky enough to get him to actually sing at one of my events. I
Okay.
had him, and he flew down Chris from Canada, the guy on the sax, and so I had this whole group. He flew like this whole plane full of people down from Canada for us, and it
Wow.
was just to listen to how talented these people are, and just, just to be there and have that experience has been just like, I've been really blessed with that in my life, has been able to like play in these arenas that I, otherwise I don't know if I would have ever been in that arena, but I am, because I am, I guess. I don't know. Okay, so enough blah 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 blah. um so let's see what I have here. Okay, so diet is number one, is the number one thing. Is that wet food? Is they're talking about just,
Mhm.
moisture? It's so important. Stress is another. They keep talking about stress, so stress is a big, component to crystals,
Yeah.
or, so just, de-stress your little one. Look at this little one here. We we got to see. I was with Jenny Sunday. We did a live, and Charlie made a preview.
Charlie, did he come in to say hello?
He did. He was so
Oh,
cute.
he's adorable.
Yeah, he's super, super,
Adorable.
super cute. Um, Now, so here's a question. Someone asked, "How do I know if my cat's showing early symptoms of crystals building up?"
I,
And
I
what's
would,
your thoughts?
my first thought is watch their litter box habits.
Yep, that's number one.
Like, how, are they going in and out frequently? Are they sitting there a long time? Are they vocalizing around the litter box or when they're in the litter box? Or how much output of urine is coming out at a time? Because, they should be a good sized clump. And if
Right.
it's just little bitty clumps, it's like, I
Something's
would
wrong.
keep an eye on that. Yeah, because something's wrong. So those would be my first, like off the top of my head, that's what I would look at first.
Yeah, it's saying here frequent trips to the litter box, right? Because if they can't get it out at once, they're going
Yeah.
back and back and back, right? Straining. So if you see that they are straining, they have that little
Mhm.
face like, something's
Mhm.
wrong, right?
Yeah.
And
And they're
then,
probably telling you about it too.
right, it says vocalizing. They're probably vocalizing at the same time.
Mhm.
And then, and sometimes they're not even urinating inside the box because they're just trying to get it out anywhere they can.
Yeah.
They're close to the box, but they may not make it to the box. And so if they're missing the box, that could even be a sign there, you
Yes.
guys.
Yes.
And then, for to find out immediately, I guess you can actually go to your vet and they'll do a possible ultrasound to see if they have crystals. Have you ever had that done for your cats?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I've never heard
No.
them use
But
ultrasound.
they might be able to find it too in a urinalysis.
Yeah, it says urinalysis as well.
Yeah, and that's typically the first thing that they do because sometimes, like in some clinics, they don't have an ultrasound machine, or you have to go to a special place because they have an ultrasound machine, or maybe there's a traveling vet that has an ult. I mean, it's weird. Like not everybody has one.
No,
I'm
right.
sure they're very expensive. So yeah, so typically they'll do like the urinalysis because they can detect right there if they see crystals in the urine. Um, and if it's really bad, like they can at least give you a heads up, like this is what we're seeing.
Yeah, I don't see anywhere where, like, if it's really bad, what would be the first thing except just water. That's, because I don't think they would go in and operate on something like that.
Well, again, I'm
Would
not a
they?
vet, so I don't think necessarily unless there is a blockage, then they might have to do something like emergency surgery or something. But there's, I'm guessing because I'm not a vet, probably a medication that helps break down those crystals quicker than a natural product would. So I have a tendency to feel like they go to their drugs first because drugs can have a quick effect, and when you're dealing with that kind of issue, we want something to work fast if you're catching it like when it's already really bad. If you're catching it like at the very beginning stage, yes, it can be very painful. Um, but that's where you could probably use a blend of the medication plus some natural herbs and things like that.
Yeah, in fact, Morgan just wrote something that I just saw. Saw one of these here,
Yeah.
oxalate.
Oxalate
Um,
stones versus struvite crystals. The oxalate is when we have too acidic urine, and then the struvite is when it's too alkaline.
yeah, so those are the two that they're talking about. So that's something that a veterinarian would do, and they don't do surgery. It's the thing they said that if they need to do something immediately, that would be a catheter
Yeah.
just to
Okay.
relieve the pressure
Yeah.
off the kidneys, so that they can actually relieve that. And then they would do with, Western, they would be using those different drugs. Then they would do, the last would be an x-ray or an ultrasound to see if there's some major blocking. And
Mhm.
once again, if there's a lot of blocking, then they would they'd cath
Yeah. Yeah.
immediately, you
That
know.
cannot feel good. I just, that makes me creeped out, but that cannot feel good, you know? Especially
Well,
when you think about how tiny their opening is. So, mm, yeah, I'm sure they're not really excited when they get that.
and yeah, because I mean, I've been to I was one of those kids that was always in the hospital, hurting this, doing this, stitches here, da da da, and that's one thing I never would ever want, would just have a catheter. And it's just like I can't imagine, just like,
No, no.
yeah, pass, pass, pass.
Can we go back to a comment way up
Yes, of
here?
course. Which one?
Okay, let me see if I can find it. She said, okay, Amanda says, can you say when is too young to be neutered?
Oh yeah, we talked about this before. This is always a good one to talk about.
Yeah, so if you have a male cat, I know it sounds crazy, but can you wait until they're almost a year old? I honestly, that is what I would recommend, because, or at least until they are fully grown, so 9 months, 10 months, something like that, because they need their hormones in order to grow, to fully develop. And one of the problems that male cats have when they are neutered too young, and when I say too young, I mean like 3 months old, 4 months old, like some people, some shelters, breeders, whatever, they're like, I've heard as young as like 10 weeks. I'm like, what? No, that's way too young. I don't care if they're 2 pounds, you know? So they need their hormones in order to fully develop all of their body parts, all of their organs, all of their
Yeah.
glands, all, it's growth hormones. And so when we neuter them, we cut off that hormone supply. And then cats end up, their urethra doesn't fully develop into the regular size it needs to be. So what happens is some of these male cats that are neutered when they're really young, they have a tendency to develop the crystals because the ureter is too small.
Oh,
Sorry, we're having technical issues here. Breeze, stay away from the light, please.
was that her tail grab it?
She just knocked it over. Um, this is my this is my hunter who looking for the gecko.
Oh, that's what it, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, she's like, "Okay,
he's
where
like,
is it, mom?"
maybe it's up here where the light is.
Right, exactly. He changed his color to light.
Hey, no, you can't play there. Um, but anyway, so what happens is their opening is too small, and they can't even let that flow of urine come out when there are like little crystals developing. So then they block so easily, and then you have all these cats getting PU surgeries. It's terrible, and it's, if you just let the cat fully develop, fully grow until they're not growing anymore. Like I think my boys were I don't know, I would say at least 6 or 7 months old when I did them. And if I had another boy today, I would even wait longer than that. Um, Even my girls, when I got the youngest one spayed, they were, oh gosh, 9 months old, and they had had at least one heat cycle. And I'm telling you, cats going into heat is not a pleasant experience. And it was after that first heat cycle that I got him fixed because Gunner, my sensitive boy, he was like, if you don't get these cats off, I'm
If they
moving
don't
out.
leave me
I'm
alone.
moving out if you don't get them fixed. They were very annoying. I have to admit. But at least I knew that they were fully grown, and they had all their development by then, and that's when I felt like, okay, it's safe to get them fixed now.
Okay, you're lucky, Gunner. They seem like they're doing good. This one's for you. Um, well,
Yeah,
that's funny. Well, and you brought up, I believe it was you that brought up where they do vasectomies on cats or dogs now.
it's a newer technique that's being taught more, and like there's a push for that to be taught in vet school now.
And
Awesome.
that makes so much more sense,
Yes, yes,
because
so they
then
can
they have
keep the
their,
hormones. Yes, it makes a lot of sense.
and once again, this all came across, came to us. And one day someone says, "Oh, we don't want more kittens. Let's have them fix. Let's fix them." And they never really figured out that time frame. And it's nice that they've got a better time frame. But I'm wondering, like, how that's going to change in the future, because that's a tough one, to
Mhm.
have to have a female that's going through her cycle and hear that.
Oh,
Oh,
it's hard. I have to say, it's hard. It's been a really long time since I went through that.
yeah,
But it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's
it's
just
okay. Yeah. Okay, well, let's move on. Let's see here. Yeah, because like I keep looking, like trying to find some like some little magical little thing about. Um, okay, Mandy here. So Mandy, I'm going to bring you up real quick just to show you this question. So Mandy here is 5 to 6 months is when you get it done. But what we're talking about, because that's still a little young, isn't it? Don't you think that's a little young?
I personally do. Yeah, I would push it further back if I could.
Yeah, and we're not saying that to like say, oh no, no, 5, 6 is wrong. We're just saying from everything that we're learning from listening to all the different vets we work with and people that we talk to all the time, it's better to wait until at least the females have their first cycle and they go through that, because when you get them fixed, it cuts off that hormone, the hormones that they're developing to actually build their body, and all of a sudden you just cut off that building material for them, and they're having to rely on the rest of their system to build the rest of their system, and they're missing a piece. They're
Yeah.
missing a construction piece, let's say.
Yeah.
So it's really important to like, um, you know, yeah, yeah. See here, she says one of my cats wasn't fixed till 1 year, and
Yeah.
that's better. That's
Perfect.
perfect. Yeah, that's perfect. It's just like, but once again, we didn't know. I mean, because like I remember some people saying, they would have their cats fixed like within a few weeks, months sometimes. And I'm like, that seems like really young for me, but I didn't know any difference then, but yeah, people were doing it, they're just, I think they were looking at it more like, let's check it off the box and get it done versus what's the well-being process of this? How's
Mhm.
this going to affect my cat?
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, so what I was looking at is I keep saying like, is there, what are the different things that, they're talking about for holistic or for a veterinarian? And it really comes back, you guys, crystals, it just keeps coming back to the same thing. It's wet food, have enough moisture in their food. And with that, you shouldn't be, you should be able to avoid this easy. It seems like it's one of those things that it's just like everywhere I look, it's just like, even like the big thing for holistic, which I keep saying about holistic, is keep them calm.
Yeah, that's part of that emotional health.
Yeah, so it's that whole emotional help for keeping your cat, calm and just
Stress,
balanced.
low stress level.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really, really, yeah. So I kind of feel like we've kind of like dove into this. Crystal, is there anything that we haven't talked about that we want to touch on with it, or do we want to come up with it? We could dig into something else. What do you think?
Well, I was just going to get some ideas for some people who want some supplements.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some of the supplements and ways that you can support your cat's urinary health. Who, if your cat has had a tendency to develop this problem, um, I know that your Chinese herbs are awesome at helping to balance all of that energy out. But even things like, I know in some cats that have a like severe issues, there's a supplement called DL-methionine that has been successfully helpful in um, helping to prevent the crystals.
Do you want to spell that so I could type it in comments real quick?
Here, let me just type it in for you. It's DL
Okay.
methionine. I think it's an amino acid. Um, and then in some cases, watching how much organ meat they consume has been effective in helping to reduce the incidence of the crystals and things like that. Corn silk is another supplement that I see common, more and more common now for cats who may have a tendency to develop this. And then there's also some products by Animal Essentials. I know they have one called UT Grav. They have a UT Cyst, which is like cystitis. So any kind of bladder support, urinary kidney support, the bladder and the kidney are sister organs. So if the bladder is off, it can affect the kidneys and vice versa. So like there are really good brands like Pet Wellbeing, Herbsmith, Animal Essentials, those come to mind. Even the Feline Essential has their urinary cat kit. So looking at some of these awesome supplements that we can add to the cat's food just to help promote a healthy urinary tract and a healthy bladder. That's what I love to use those kinds of products just being proactive, especially if you've had a history of these kinds of issues. And then sometimes like you have to kind of know what you're doing, but homeopathy is a wonderful way to nip things in the bud quickly once you kind of figure out what's going on. So if you can do a little digging on homeopathic remedies for cats with cystitis or cats with urinary stones and things like crystals, there's definitely some good options out there that you can keep on hand that can help turn things around a whole lot faster. But you have to be really aware of how healthy your cat is, like all those signs, those symptoms we talked about, you have to be really observant. And if your intuition is telling you like something is not right and he's got a history of it, pay attention to that little warning sign.
One of the questions I asked was, is it breed specific? Are there certain breeds that will, have more urinary issues than others? And it came up with Persians, ragdolls,
Come here.
British short hairs.
Say hi to me.
Um,
Say hi.
so, and in Mancoons also. No, yeah, this is the
This is
lizard chaser.
Yeah, this is Breeze.
That's Breeze. Hey, Breeze.
She's my hunter. Aren't you a good girl? Yeah. Except when she brings in lizards and geckos.
So it's interesting. So why do you think that these breeds have this condition? Why do what causes that? I wonder why. What because it seems like issue that most all cats would get, but why would it be so specific to certain cats? That's a weird one for me.
Um, it might be a genetic predisposition for bladder health fluctuations to change really drastically one way or another. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Um, that would be my first thought, but that's a good question. I don't really know the answer to. Does it
Well,
say why?
well in each breed, it's once again it's going back to their nutritional health.
Okay.
It's really like, because I guess Mancoons, because they are a larger breed that they eat a lot more. So they're saying a balanced nutrition diet would be
Mm,
beneficial for them for a lot of things, it looks like. So yeah, it's
yeah.
interesting to see this. Interesting. Because yours are, what breed is yours?
Tonkinese.
Tonkinese. Tonkinese.
It's a
Tonkinese.
blend of Siamese and Burmese.
I was going to say, okay, Tonkinese. Oh my
Tonkinese.
gosh, so
They call them
cute.
tonks. They're
Yeah.
tonks.
And so you guys, and if you need, once again, here is, let me get your site there. If you need to find a place where to find these, so you can help you locate these herbs or supplements that can help.
Mhm.
Um, well, it's not that it seems like as long as the cat's hydrated, we're pretty good there. We're pretty safe there. It sounds like because everything I'm looking at, it goes back to nutrition, and it's everything just it's either due to stress or diet.
I would say those are probably the two most predominant reasons.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then and then the things that you just you'll know if you watch your cat go in the box and they're having issues, you should be able to identify what's going on because it's straightforward. Like if they can't pee, if they're barely peeing, if they're complaining, there's something. And once again, these are things that it takes a team, and a vet is part of our team. And when you need to take your pet to the vet, you take them to the vet. We're not here to replace your vet. We do not change that in our profile of like the vet is part of our team. You need that vet. What I always recommend to people is like if you have a vet and it's a big box vet, you may want to find yourself an independent vet. And there's a lot of them popping up now where a lot of vets are starting to open up their own clinic. They're not going, they're not part of the big clinics. They're their own clinics because they do want to practice both Eastern and Western medicine. And so, that's another way you can help your pet is finding a pet that's in alignment with you, with how you want to treat your pet,
Yeah.
because that's what's so beautiful about today is the fact that there's so many vets that are coming along that they do want to have holistic options for their clients.
Because it's in demand.
Yeah, and it really is. It really is. It's like, I mentioned to Jenny, I don't think I told you this weekend we signed up. It's called Kit Crusaders, and it's a cat rescue. A-
Oh,
And so and it's interesting because I had met this lady probably a year ago, and she was really sweet, and she was an older lady, and she had her foster people all over LA. They would take their cats, they'd bring their cats, and they'd set up every Sunday. And so I went by and I just showed her our new pet parent kit that we give away to pet rescues. And she had one cat there a couple weeks ago just screaming away, and I'm like, oh, here's no more drama, give it a try next time. And she called me up this last week. We signed them up. We were out there Sunday getting them all set up with their holistic setup, because they're like, they have tried everything with their cats, because when those cats are on the street in those cages, if they're nervous, they let you know.
yeah. It's stressful for them.
It's stressful for them, and they were so happy to see how well the no more drama worked for them, that they're just like, so yeah, so that's what I'm just saying, like, for if you are leaning towards this natural form of food and treatment for your pet, look for a holistic wellness vet. Someone that is willing to do both sides of it, because unfortunately, we do need the Western side as much as we do the Eastern side sometimes, and we can't say no to one or the other. What are you looking at there?
There's a kitty down here staring at me.
Oh, okay. I was like,
I'll jump
I was
up.
like, are you okay there? You're holding your heart there. I'm like
Come
going,
come say hi. Come say hi. Come on. Come on. I don't think she's gonna jump.
well, it's so funny because the other one's behind you with her back towards you.
Yeah.
You see her, and
Sister's down here looking at me. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
she's not happy right now about you taking her friend away. I don't
Yeah.
think you can see she's kind of like looking around for it. She's so cute. Look at her. harassing your
Oh,
cats.
she's a mess. She's such a mess. Yeah.
Okay. Don't have a lot of mats. I'm just looking at and see if there's anybody. So you guys, if you have any questions, feel free to like ask us. We've got some time here. We've got another half hour to go, so we can dig into anything else that you guys want to talk about. We are here. This was just something that came up a couple of weeks ago in one of our lives. So we thought every time I hear something that I don't know that much about, I like to learn more about it. And this is the best way for me to learn about it is by bringing it to you guys so you guys can learn about it as well, because we never know what's going to change the trajectory of your pet's life. And if there's one thing that we do here that makes it completely, different in a better way, that's why we're here.
Mhm.
And it was cute because I had asked Jenny to join us if she wanted to,
Yeah.
because she's always so fun to have on. And she sent me a text message like probably an hour ago. She goes, "Oh, thank God I didn't come on because it was like I found a flea today."
Oh no. No, not the fleas.
She's like, "I'm vacuuming." Okay, so here's Amanda saying, when you talk about pH balance, what affects the balance or imbalance?
Okay, it can be the food. Food changes the pH of the urine. So if we feeding dry food, it becomes too alkaline because the food is more carbohydrate based, dry food is. So it raises the pH of the urine to be more alkaline. Um, then the other thing she asked that, yeah, so that's if you're feeding the proper level of acidity, like protein. Look, okay, we have to go back to the carnivore. They need protein to eat, right? So that for cats is ideal. Protein diets, high moisture, and that will put their urine at the right pH balance. So just like I'm trying to think of an analogy. If you've ever if you ever did like experiments in chemistry class, dating myself a long time ago, and you had to add, different mixtures to change. Oh, let me use this as like a swimming pool. If you've ever had a swimming pool and you've had to test the pH because your water is getting too green, oh, we gotta change the pH level. It's getting too green. Maybe there's too much rain or too much debris and it starts getting green. And so then you have to add the little drops into the water to see what the pH is. And if it's in the perfect position, perfect level, then you have pristine blue water. So that's what we always want to go for. Um, so think of it like testing your pool's pH, if that makes sense.
Well, and I was one of those nerdy little kids that had that little science kit that they
Yeah,
put a little this, a little that, I
yeah.
loved it. Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, but I mean, and what we're talking about too, it's like going back to that question, like, what about the balance, imbalance and all that? And what we keep seeing here and what we keep you hearing here is like, if your pet's eating a balanced diet, there's not much you really are going to have to worry about. It
Unless
sounds
you
like it.
have an underlying health condition or something like that.
Right. Yeah. Unless they're, it's like they're prone to it because of their breed or whatever it is. But really, it's just like, it just shows you how important food is. It's like, and
Yeah,
then, it's like, I even think it's like when I hear that and I'm thinking, God, that's even like for us, for us humans, it's like, food is like so important for us and how we eat and what we eat.
yeah.
And I mean, there's days where I know I get going so fast in the morning that sometimes I don't eat that much for the day. And all of a sudden by the end of the day, I'm like, why do
Starving.
I feel like shit? You
Yeah,
know?
you haven't eaten enough. I
And I
wanted
mean,
to also make a comment over here. I was thinking about how, when oxalate stones develop, it's when their pH drops too low. I think in some cases, if there is some type of underlying health condition with a pet, it has something to do with the way their body is either oxidizing the the foods, the metabolism process or something on some level that is not it's not working right. Like something is off. And so that can affect like how much of the minerals they are not processing through, or how much of those are not breaking down. So um, I think at some level it may go back to the metabolism and their digestion and how they're actually processing and breaking down and assimilating the nutrients in their food. And if their body is not able to do that very well, or if there's an imbalance in the minerals in their food, like it's too high in something, they just can't process it right. So I feel like that's something else to look at. But I think it's and that may also be why some of those diets need to be tweaked a little bit so that we can not put some of those minerals in their food at such high levels because of those issues. So yeah, it would require like a little more deep dive into some of that, and I'm not a vet. I don't want to be a vet. I don't need to learn all the nitty-gritty details on some things, and some things I really am interested in. Other things I'm like, yeah, okay, I have a general idea. Um, but here I will tell you this. If your cat is going through one of these conditions and you're struggling with that, it's meant for you to learn a lesson from it. So you could look at the big picture, like the universe is trying to get your attention and say, you need to learn about this. And it's
Got
so interesting how this works because you learn it and then you will run into somebody who's going through the exact same thing and you can help them. And the same thing with our health. So if we come down with some kind of a condition or a weird type of infection or whatever going on in our body, we're forced to learn how to deal with that and to how are we going to heal ourselves. And how many times has it happened where you have gone through this whole process, or maybe you're still going through it, and someone comes into your path who needs exactly that same kind of help? You were put there, you had to go through that in order to help other people. So think of it kind of as the universe giving you a mission to learn about something because you need to go through it.
And you need to share. Yeah.
You
Well,
need to share. Yeah.
well, and it's funny you say that because it brought up someone sent me a message the other day. They're like, Michael, why do you move around so much while you're in your chair? And the reason why I move around so much, you guys, and I'll share this, is the fact that you guys, a lot of you guys that know me, have seen my other channels and all that. When I'm protesting for kids, I was attacked and it hurt me, and I was hurt, and they're still trying to figure out what they did and what's causing the pain. And so when I'm sitting in the chair, I'm trying to find a comfortable place for me to sit so I
Mhm.
could sit, because sitting in a chair is really hard for me to sit for a long period of time. And so that's why I move a lot. So I apologize that I move a lot, but it's for my health. That's why I'm doing. I'm finding the balance of like,
Exactly.
yeah, because I have to sit here and I have to like lean back sometime and go back. But it's so true, because like what you said is like, we go through things in life and we never know, why we're going through these things. And the next thing you know, it shows itself so clearly that you're there to help someone else with this. And once again, that's why we're here. That's why we have this channel. That's why we do these classes, and that's why we do these lives, is so that we can bring this information to you. Because where else are you guys going to find it? You could go on the internet and you could Google, and
Right.
there's so much information out there, and there's so much wrong information out there.
Mhm.
At least we have our fingers on people that are inside the industry, that, when I ask questions or I'm going to do a topic, I'll reach out to the people about the topic, and I'll build the show on those topics so that we're covering what needs to be discussed. Because a lot of times people are looking at the wrong thing sometimes. Some people think it's one thing and it's actually something completely opposite. Unless you have someone to share that with or learn from, you're not going to, you may go down the wrong path before you find the right path,
Mhm.
And
That's part of
so,
the learning process.
yeah, so that's why it's like, that's why we say to you guys, it's so important that you guys do your homework as well, so that when but it sounds like, you know, besides the big thing that I always see, like in our conversations with people and when we have it, is like, because like there was somebody that just said, where was it? It was, oh, Mandy said, she goes, my cats will rarely touch wet food. So she's been
Mm.
feeding them dry food probably and she's got it in, and you can't put the, see, Mandy, now you can't put the wet food in an automatic feeder. That's true. I'll give you that. Okay. It's going to be quite a mess. But are you doing it out of, if maybe, I don't know, how would you transition somebody's cat from dry to wet if they really wanted to do it? What would be your thoughts?
Okay, this is a really good question. First of all, the most important thing you can do is pick up the all day buffet because we want to use hunger in your favor. So put your cats on a schedule. So if you're still feeding the dry, pick up the buffet and feed them a specific portion in the breakfast and dinner. And if you want to divide whatever the amount of food they get over the entire day. Do it in 3 meals if you want to, but put them on a schedule and make it easy. Make it work for you. So if you're used to feeding them breakfast, feed them dinner, and then they're going to fast through the rest of the day, and that's okay. And it's okay if they need to have a treat midday or a treat before they go to bed or something like that. That's totally fine. Um, when you're going to start to introduce the wet food, start with a protein that they already like. So if their dry food is chicken based, for example, salmon, chicken, something whatever they like, that's where I would start their wet food. And then you're gonna probably need to figure out what their preferences are. So I tell people, don't go buy a case of anything. Go to the go to the pet store and buy a little small can of this, different flavors, different textures. Buy a pouch. You're buying, think of it as buying little samples, okay? Because you're gonna go home and do an experiment. Not all at once, but just introduce a little bit. Put a little bit in their bowl and put their dry food on top of it. Get them used to the smell of it. Or you can even put it right next to their dry food. So they start to associate mealtime with this new thing that's sitting here that I don't know what that is. I'm not eating that. That's not my food. This is my food. So we have to teach them what food is. They are imprint eaters. They're going to eat whatever they were introduced to as babies when they were weaned from their mom. So if they were fed dry food all that time, that's what they think that their food is. They think it's dry.
That's their
Um,
paradigm.
that's their paradigm. So we have to shift the paradigm. So like in some cases, there's some cats who need to have a little stepping stones, right? So put a little bit of that wet food in their bowl and then crumble some of their dry food on top, like treat it as a topper. And give them a little bit. Don't give them a whole bowl. Just give them a little bit and see how they eat that particular food. And if they do eat it, you're like, okay, write down what you fed them, what brand, what flavor, whatever, and start to keep a log so you know what they like and what they didn't like. If it was a texture, if it was the minced or the gravy or the pate or whatever it is, try different things. And I will tell you also try different brands because every recipe is different and they use different things, and some ingredients may appeal more to your cat than another. Especially when it comes to canned or wet food, they use different thickeners and they use different in some cases like whole food ingredients for some of those nutrients, those vitamins and minerals. So some cats don't really like the taste of kelp. Some cats don't like the taste of Perna mussels. Some cats don't like sunflower oil, and some brands that's what they use. So you just have to kind of be aware that there's different things. Um, so the idea here is to slowly progress, moving them from a little bit of wet food in their dry and slowly with at their pace, right? We can try to push them on when you see that they're eating everything in their bowls, like, okay, I'm going to increase the wet and decrease the dry. And you keep increasing the new and decreasing the old until you don't feed the old anymore. Now they're on the wet food. And that's when you can actually start to introduce, like, maybe gently cooked, and you, now that they're eating the wet food, you put a little bit of the gently cooked into their wet food and you mix it all up, so that you're starting to introduce changes to their palate. And again, you do the same process again. Same thing with raw. If your cat likes wet food and they're just really, really happy with that, you can do a little bit of raw food and mix it in, and just slowly add more and more of the new and less of the old. Um, and again, you just have to be patient. Some cats can transition really well, and some cats need more time. Um, don't be afraid to just try different brands and different proteins. Um, your cats can probably have a preference, and if you can build their palate to 4 or 5 proteins that you can include or rotate through. Like, a lot of times brands will have at least 2, sometimes 3 proteins in a food. We just need to get them used to more and more options, because God forbid if they get sick and all they ever eat is chicken and they develop candida and they can't have chicken, what are you going to do? You know, and I have a client who's dealing with a rescue cat with that issue. Like, all she will eat is chicken, and she's she's got candida, and she's got a host of health issues. So the candida was feeding the chicken. Sorry, the chicken is
Feeding.
feeding
Yeah.
the candida. So you can't get rid of the candida if you're going to keep feeding the chicken. So you are going to have to do something to help break that addiction to that one food.
Food.
So
Yeah.
we've got to give them a variety and keep trying to rotate and change things.
Well, I was happy that I was waiting and hoping that you were going to introduce raw into that transition. And I'm happy that you did, because ideally I would think that um, cats would love a raw.
Once they get used to it,
Yeah.
yeah. And I'll tell you,
Because,
the best time to feed them raw is when they're kittens.
yeah, because then they get used to it. And all of a sudden, because
And
it's like,
you're just like, oh, this is normal.
yeah, it's like you're trapping the little gecko there. He's like, ah, I got myself something raw, yay, you know. But I mean, it's like this is their heritage, is like raw food. You know, it's not necessarily, you know, kibble or canned or whatever. And so if you could do that and make it a game of like when when Pam's talking about making a list and the dates and the times and all that, it may seem overwhelming, but make a game out of it so that you have fun doing it as well. Because at the end of the game, if you do get the opportunity to see that you can actually cook raw for them, feed
Mhm.
them raw for a lot less than what you're going to be buying the cans for, you're going to be, it's a win-win. You're winning for their health. You're winning for the food. I mean, you can't do better than that. So that's an interesting concept. You know, our little lady I saw popped in here from Floppy Cats, and she says there is an automatic feeder for wet food.
Mhm.
Um,
Yep.
talking talking about feeders, you know, we talked about this before in one of our shows where, you know, people have a tendency to think, well, I'll just put down a big bowl of dry food and just leave it there for the whole day and let them graze all day long. And you brought up how important it is to have that downtime for digestion, to have the rest and all that.
Mhm.
With people having these feeders, they should be scheduling these feeders so that they have that exact same downtime, right?
Mhm. Absolutely.
And I would think they come with that kind of scheduling, that you can schedule it any way you want to feed them.
Yeah, I think so. I've never personally used an automatic feeder, but I think they're becoming, well, there's more options now for them than there ever were,
Yeah.
in the past 15 years. So that's awesome. But yeah,
Yeah.
definitely put them on a feeding schedule, because hunger is your friend. When they are hungry, they are more apt to eat what you are feeding them. Versus if they've been grazing all day, guess what? You pop down a plate of wet food, they're gonna go, I'm not really hungry right now. I've been
Yeah,
eating all day.
they're just
You
looking at their clock on their
know,
little
I'll just
Apple Watch
eat
saying it's just a
more
matter
dry
of
food
time.
now.
Yep.
No, that's not helping. So pick up the all day buffet for sure. Definitely, you got to do it.
You know, here Amanda had this comment I thought was a cute little comment from Amanda. She's like, "My boys are so weird. When I give them cat food, they like chicken but not fish. But when I try real food, they only like tuna and not chicken." Now, does that make sense? It's the flavoring that they put in the
It's
chicken,
probably
probably.
what's in the recipe and how it's processed, because you got to remember the canned cat food has been cooked probably several times, been heated and heated and heated over and over again, and they've added all these synthetic, vitamins and mineral packs to their recipe. They've added thickeners. I mean, God knows what they're putting in it, right? So it's probably something related to the way it's been cooked, or the recipe itself that they're actually turning their nose up to. Um, but yeah, I have to tell you, when I got this little one right here, she was about almost 12 weeks old, and they sent me home with a little bag of Royal Canin dry food, because that was their sponsor or whatever. And I brought it home and I just like opened the trash can and boop, we're not eating that.
We're not eating that. Bye. See
We're
ya.
not doing that. And I opened the raw food and I put raw food for her for first meal, and she didn't even blink. She just ate it all up. I mean, if you can get your cats on raw food when they're babies, by all means do it, because it just makes your life easier.
Yeah, well, it makes it most sense that they're going to be able to figure it out easy versus wait until they're, in their teens and all of a sudden you're
Yeah,
changing what they've been eating their whole life. They're going to go, what the hell's gotten into her?
yeah. It's like that's not my food. We have to teach them what food is.
Right, exactly. So I just brought this up from our friend here. Another great transition tip that helped me was doing energy clearing around food.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, the stomach holds and emits the emotion disgust. And when cats are introduced to something new that they don't view as food, or that they find offensive somehow, that emotion is what they are experiencing is disgust. Like, I'm not eating that. Are you kidding me? No way. So with energy work, what I do is I can clear that new food as a stressor, because that's what I call them. It's a stressor. When you clear it as a stressor or a block, you're clearing the emotional attachment to that particular new food. And when you clear that, it's like clearing the static off the radio station, and you're tuning in that dial, and you eliminate that resistance. So it helps greatly. I know that's how we transitioned Jenny's cat so fast, I think over a couple weeks. And her
Oh,
baby's
wow.
eating kibble for years. Um, Kibble and probably wet. I can't remember Jenny, but yeah, her transition was a lot faster. So it can
That's
go a lot
quick.
faster. Yeah, it
That's
is.
quick. Yeah, that was
A
really
week.
quick.
Yep.
Wow, interesting. So then clearing the energy it probably works both ways. Like there's probably even some bad energy that they're attracted to without even realizing they're attracted to the bad energy in food. No? Or what do you think about that?
Well, I do clear addictions to sugar, and it's tied to the opioid receptor site in the brain. It's tied to taste buds. It's tied to emotions like obsessed and not being flexible. So it clears that resistance. So that's for cats who absolutely refuse to eat wet food. Like, they are kibbleholics all day, every day. That's all they want. You know, they would rather starve themselves before eating anything else. So I call it a sugar addiction. So I clear the sugar addiction. And in some cases, I need to clear a block to wet food, a block to gently cooked food, a block to raw food. It just depends on how you want to stair step that, or what you want to introduce. So again, it's clearing that emotional association that they have with that particular food. So it tears down the resistance, and it makes them more open and receptive to trying something new.
Do you find love to ask a question, but before we get there, I want to ask you this question from what you were just talking about. Since you have your families from the same family line, right? A couple of them are brothers and sisters at one point, or were of the same family, right? Do
Skylar
you,
and Breeze have the same daddy.
Tyler,
Skylar and Breeze.
Skylar and Breeze? Okay, so they have the same daddy. Do you see that this when they're coming from the same family, they have the same blocks?
Well, these girls didn't have really much. They were already eating raw food when I got them because the breeder was feeding them raw food.
But I
So,
mean, like, yeah, because well, you're different. You're different in how you treat pets because, like, you're one of a kind. You know, not everybody is like you. That talks about energy, about
right.
changing the perception of like changing the blocks and breaking those blocks and all that. But for somebody that doesn't practice in this world,
Hmm.
if they were to have a brother and a sister from the same family, do you think they would be coming from that same paradigm like we talked about before?
That's a great question. And I've thought about this because when I have to do energy work on Skylar and Breeze, for example, when they go outside and they get spooked by the wind when it's really windy, or the birds that are dive bombing them because they have a nest up there, you know, um, I have to clear the exact same emotional blocks for both of them, like almost to a T, like the same emotions, the same limiting belief, the same relationship block with food, the same. I mean, they are so energetically connected on that level. It's crazy. It's crazy. Breeze is slightly a little bit more sensitive, like Gunner. She's more of an earth animal, so her solar plexus chakra gets out of whack. Her self confidence gets out of whack. She's more susceptible to um, having that butterflies in the tummy kind of sensation because she gets a little afraid. But she's just wired differently like that.
Right.
Um, but they are very much alike. Very much alike.
Interesting. Um, Before we move to Love's question here, she asked another question. Do you work on people too?
I do. I do all the time.
Yeah, I think it's so important. I mean, especially did you start with people?
No, I started with cats.
You started with cats.
I was a customer. I was a client doing the modalities that I now teach, or now that I do. That's let me word that. I was a client doing what I do now on people and pets. So I did it for myself for a while, and then I learned and got the whole board certification and stuff like that. So now I work mainly on pets because I'm just in that space more, but I also work on pet parents all the time. So yeah,
Yeah.
depends on
Well,
what you
that's
want to work on. Doesn't have
what.
to be health. It can be emotional stuff, like starting a new job, or having, getting rid of limiting beliefs, or moving past traumas from past relationships, and so that you can learn how to create the life you want, or whatever it is. I mean, we can work on anything.
Well, yeah, because I always talk about, I always say we have a physical body, we have a spiritual body. Those need to be in alignment, and when you're in alignment, your life does this, and I've always found that with myself. But I do find that when I'm out of alignment in one thing, I can be out of alignment in many things. And I just think it's one thing, but in reality, that same block is affecting so many different things. And so I need to work on that block, not just for the one thing, but for that same thing in other areas. And they don't look alike.
Hmm.
Those blocks don't look alike, but yet they are basically the same block, it seems like. Yeah.
They're all connected.
Yeah. They're all connected. So question, mushrooms beneficial to cats. What's your thought on that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Mushrooms are some of the most amazing superfoods for cats, for dogs, for people. They have so many benefits, so many reasons why we should be using them with our cats. Um, Basically, even Dr. Rob Silver, he just came out with a book and it says there's a mushroom for that. So whatever condition your cat or dog is going through, there's a mushroom for that. You know, there's they work on so many levels and they can benefit so many illnesses and support the body in so many ways. Yes, absolutely. Big fan.
Yeah, and just throwing it into my little chat really quick, just seeing what it comes up with. It's like mushrooms, like one of those superfoods for pets.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
I was lucky. I was at a client's house, and all of a sudden, her daughter-in-law was there, and she was cooking, and she goes, "I don't know how to cook," and I'm like, "Well, what are you cooking?" She goes, "Mushrooms." I'm like, "Well, that seems pretty easy to do," and so she started, cooking the mushrooms, and I'm like going. She goes, "You want some?" And I'm like, "Well, no, I don't want to take your meal." She goes, "No, have some." And I had a few, and I'm like, going, "God, when's the last time I really ate mushrooms by just mushrooms,
Hmm.
without having them as the topper, just by mushrooms?" And all of a sudden, she's gotten us now where that's part of our shopping is like we don't get one package, we get two, three, four packages of different types of mushrooms
Hmm.
because they have different properties, and it's pretty amazing on the way they taste and how they hold the flavor of the other foods and they complement the other foods, and they are so beneficial for us, so I can imagine that they are for cats as well.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, so Love is asking one last question. What about general for beef bone broth? Well, I mean, bone broth is
Yes,
bone. Yeah, bone broth is good. I mean,
absolutely.
have you ever had it yourself? I mean, I've had it, and it's really, really so good. I
Hmm.
mean, and if you make it yourself, that's the trick. Is if you could get into making it yourself, actually go to the butcher. They have bones that they'll have for you that you could buy from them, and you can make your own bone broth, and it is completely different than the bone broth that you buy.
Hmm. Yeah.
I'll say that because we got it. Like we're in this like thanks to Karen Becker. We're
Yeah.
not Karen Becker. That's wrong, right? Is it?
No, no, Dr. Karen Becker.
Not Karen Becker. What's the other one? Who did I just have on my channel?
Dr.
Um,
Judy Morgan.
Judy Morgan. Yeah,
Yeah.
she after spending time with her, we've been doing so much so much shopping on the outside of the thing, and that's one of the things we pile up on is mushrooms. I love cooking mushrooms, and and I've learned a way for me to cook mushrooms is that growing up, I always thought, oh, you saute them, because you always had them on steak or whatever, right? You saute them in butter and all that. And what I do now is I take my mushrooms, I wipe them off from dirt, in case there's any dirt on them, because there's dirt sometimes, and so I
Hmm.
clean them off as best as I can, and then I put them in a pot, and I put just like just enough water, kind of to steam them, like you're going to steam vegetables, and then I add a little olive oil to it and a little salt and pepper, and they are the best. They're the best.
Hmm. Yeah, it's yummy. You can.
And getting rid of all the butter, because I'm like was Mr. Butter for the longest time, and I'm like no, no butter. So yeah, so
Butter's
mushrooms are good.
actually good for you, though. Butter's good for you, like real butter, not margarine.
Well, yeah, real. I mean, when you say real, it's like that's one of the things I was talking to Serge about this weekend. Is like, I feel like we want to start really cooking at farmers. Cooking. We want to start buying at farmers markets
Hmm.
instead of just going to our grocery stores that we go to all the time. Why
Yeah.
don't we buy most of our stuff from farmers markets? Because it's probably going to be a lot healthier for us.
Unless you are trying to get organic, because not all farmers are organic, like to the standard of organic. But if you can get locally raised, locally grown, absolutely. A lot of the farmers that are your farmers markets do the very best they can to be non-toxic, no pesticides, like on the safer end instead of
And
glyphosate and all the toxic stuff. They don't want that.
yeah, they try to clean. They try to cook as clean or grow as clean as
Yeah.
possible. But talking on this, and I'll share this is the fact that because being a designer, I belong to the flower mart. I belong to actually the food mart as well because I'll design, arrangements with fruits or vegetables or make just
Mhm.
vegetable arrangements and all that. Is you have to make sure that when you're shopping at a farmer's market that you ask them, one, do you grow your own food? you know, because sometimes they look like they have a whole grocery store there, and all of a sudden you're thinking they're growing everything. And unfortunately, they run down to the food mart and they buy a lot of the stuff to resell it. And so you're
Mhm.
not getting what you think you're getting. So just be wise and make sure you ask that question, because a lot of people at farmers markets, they don't sell their own food because they don't even grow their own food. It's just a way for them to make money, and they just buy food and they resell it. And you
Mhm.
think you're at a farmer's market, so you think you're getting a better quality food. In reality, you're not necessarily getting a better quality. So just be aware of that. Um,
Yeah, that's really odd. The farmers market that I go to here, I've been going for like 3 years, and I've developed a relationship with this one couple who, like, we talk about what are you planting? What's, when we have a freeze, it's like, oh, we lost all our harvest and we had to plow it over. So I know personally they are out
which
there
ones?
every
Yeah.
day, just like when they're starting their seeds and they're using their greenhouse. And I mean, we're talking about all those things and what are you planning now and what's coming up on your menu, and stuff like that. It's really cool to support them. And I can't imagine how hard a life it is to be a farmer, and
Oh,
they eat what they grow. It's cool. It's really
yeah.
cool.
Yeah. I had this one girl that she was so great. She made homemade granola, and she made it from scratch, and it was my favorite in the world. And I got her to a point where she would even she would even ship it to me from, because she lived like in Santa Barbara, which was a couple hours out from
Yeah.
where I live. And so I even got her where she would ship it to me, and I was like, "Really, you'll ship it to me?" She goes, "Yeah, I'll ship it to you." Because I was good. I mean, I'm one of those people that's like a do or die kind of person. Like if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it. And so of course I'm eating her granola every single day of the week with
Right.
milk, with yogurt, with whatever. And it's just like, but um, yeah, so I love that idea. You definitely want to become friends with your people that you're buying your goods from, because if you're just showing up at a mart and not knowing the people, I mean, here they're pretty strict on like who's at the mart, but
Mm.
sometimes they do sneak in, this or that. Well, I think we're definitely over on our time today, you guys. If you guys have any other questions, I'd love you're asking like what kind of mushrooms. There's so many different mushrooms.
And
What I would do. I mean, this is one thing that we did just recently. Is we were at a farmer's market and we ran into a friend, and she was running a booth, and she happened to be selling mushrooms that day, and for a lady that she knew. And I was like going, and she gave us, I forget which, they were the big white thick ones. They were really, I forget the name of them, but they were
like
so,
white button mushrooms, just
they,
the white.
they, the stems were probably a good, like the mushroom itself was probably this big.
Oh my goodness, I have no idea.
Yeah, it was very phallic looking. Let's put it that way, right? But it was like
It was
to
big.
dice it up and cook it. It was like it was so healthy and so. I mean, it was like you felt like you're eating meat versus eating meat. And I'm like, God, that's a big change right there, because you feel like you're eating meat and it's not even meat.
Was
You're
it
getting.
a portobello mushroom? Because those are
It
the big.
wasn't. It
It was.
wasn't portobello. It was. I'll figure out the name next time if I can remember too. Um, yeah, but it was one that I'd never had before, and it was. But she was like, "That's what I was going to say. Is like, ask the person selling mushrooms at the market,
Yeah.
because you're going to learn so much about mushrooms, and which what properties they have and all that. So check that out there. That's what I would do there, love, to figure out your recipes. And there's so many recipes online now that you can dig up that you'll love. So everybody, with that, I want to say thank you, Pam, for being here once again on Tuesday at 6 o'clock my time, 8 o'clock your time. I know we're a little behind time, so your girls are probably going, "Where's mom?" They're probably sitting at the food bowl right now, right?
No, but they're waiting to play.
And once again, everybody, be sure to, hit a like and follow Pam's Perfectly Holistic. Be sure to just, give her a like. You know where to find me. You can find me at Healthy Paws Herbal Labs. You can find me here at the Pet's Journey. Once again, we're just here, just passing on this information. Be sure to do your own homework. We'd love to hear what kind of homework you do. So if you've done some homework that you think is going to benefit all our friends in our chat, let us know. We'd love to share that information with them, just like we share this information with you guys. So with that, I just want to say thank you to everybody. So I'm going to go ahead and read my my little closing here. So that wraps us up in our deep dive in the urinary crystals, what causes them, how to spot them early, the different ways to manage or prevent them. Thank you for joining us, everybody. I really, really appreciate it. It seems like the number one thing that we can do about these crystals is diet. You know, we talk about that all the time here about diet. You know, moisture is so important for cats, so make sure they're getting enough moisture inside their diet. And I love the idea of being able to slowly switch them out of dry food and go into a wet food. There is a way. It just takes love, talent, and patience. You
Mhm.
know, that's all it is, and you can do it. So, with that, everybody, thank you again for always being here. We will see you next Tuesday, and maybe Jenny will join us next Tuesday if we can grab her and pull her into this. She's always fun to have with us as well. If you guys ever have a question or anything that you guys, a topic that you guys want to us dive into, feel free to reach out to me. Shoot Pam a message, shoot me a message. You got our information. Shoot us the information, and we'd be happy to bring up a topic that's on your mind that maybe you're dealing with your pet, and maybe we can help your pet get through it together. So with that, everybody have a beautiful, beautiful Tuesday night, and I will see you guys next Tuesday here with Pam.
Bye, guys.
And peace, people. Have a wonderful night. Good night, guys. Thank you for being here. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you to all the mods and everybody, Amanda and everybody for being here. Really appreciate it. And good to see everybody. Thank you guys. Have a nice night. Bye.